All right. So tonight we're going to talk about opponent breakdown. I have 7 plays. Just show you our columns we use, and then be able to show you some of the plays and what we call them. Everyone's standard ODK here. I have a title screen just in case we'd like to use this information for our scouting report, or if I'm at a clinic. This can talk about what the different plays are or concepts. I think this is important, the team that is playing the game. So if I want to filter out a certain team or just look at pass pro from a certain opponent, I can do that. This is also nice for self-scout in the off-season. The drill columns basically for practice, quarter self-explanatory. We look at every series of the game, so we'll mark first, second, third, all the way up to, if a team is in the 10th series, and then the number of play in that series. So for the first example, this was the 6th play in that series. Cut-up number would be 28 for this example. This was the 28th play of this game, and then play number is automatically given a value in Huddle. This way, we'll use the cut-up number to tell either a coach or a player, hey, go look at the cut-up number 24 from Hanover. Yard line's pretty self-explanatory. Hash, down and distance, play type, results. For our conference, most of this stuff already comes in, so we just need to check this. And each week we have a coach that is the expert of the team, and there to make sure that all this information up to this point is done. And a few more categories going on. Our EFF column is our efficiency column. So we're looking on first down if the team. So we look at this as from the defensive aspect. So all these plays are no, meaning that the offense actually did really well. So if it's an NY category, so it's either no or yes. So on first down, if the team gained 5 or more yards, first and 10, that is not efficient for the defense. On second down, we look at whatever it took to get half of what they needed for third down, and then third and fourth down is simply did they get it yes or no. So that's what our efficiency looks. So I can pull up all that team's efficient plays for the whole season. So when we're trying to look at our plays we want to look at and scout, we'll look at that. Our OT column, and the reason we abbreviated a lot of this stuff is when you go full screen up here, a lot more things show up if my columns are abbreviated. So that's why it doesn't say OT means offensive target. So on this play was run play number 3, ran a football. We have a down and distance chart. We'll look at PN10, which is the first possession, the first down of the possession. We'll look at EN10, which is an earned first down. We're going to look at 2nd and 1 to 6, and then we're going to look at 2nd and 7 plus, and then we'll look at 3rd and 1 to 2, 3rd and 3 to 6, 3rd and 7 to 10, and then 3rd and 11 plus. That's our starting point for each week as we go back through them. Maybe a team is different than that, so we'll try to replicate what we may see from an offensive coordinator. So if traditionally a 3rd and 7 play fits into that offensive coordinator's 3rd and 5, we'll move our category and adjust. This column is our field position chart, which we have. We made it pretty simple. We have coming out. We have a which is our black zone, and then we'll have a midfield zone. We'll have a minus. All right, and then a midfield zone, and then we have a strike zone and a red zone. So we're pretty simple in terms of that. We have a quarterback column here. And this is done by, so all that information is done by the expert of that week. The quarterback column is going to be done by my defensive back coach because he's watching all the pass plays, on the run plays, our defensive line coach will handle that. Personnel, self-explanatory, we talk about running back and tight end. That is done also by the person who's the expert that week. So when we have a schedule, right now I have 2 younger coaches. They kind of alternate, but they will break down anywhere from 3 to 6 games based on the opponent, based on what type of team that they are. And they're going to do pretty much everything that involves pre-snap procedure. And then once the ball has been snapped, that's their expert areas. So our defensive line guy, his expert area is the run game. Our defensive back coach, his expert area is the pass game. And then as the defensive coordinator, my expert is pass pro. So I'll look at all pass pro, which we'll talk about here in a second. Right here is offensive play concept. This is something that I go back as the defensive coordinator and do, and it's essentially naming every single play. And if it's close to what our offense runs, some of these concepts our offense does not run, we try to name that so it's easier for the scout guys. This O play is run, pass, or RPO, so we're able to, instead of play type where it's run, pass, we're able to look at just all the RPOs. So anytime that there's some sort of run block and there's routes being ran, we will label that RPO. This P means play, so we've narrowed it down to make it super simple for our players and our coaches. So on all run plays, our defensive line coach is doing play. So essentially there is a gap scheme. There's going to be some sort of zone scheme. There's going to be potentially a perimeter play and a draw. So we try to fit into all 4 of those categories. If we see something we haven't, we'll create a new one. But why I like this was in the past, a team may run 7 or 8 different types of inside zone or zone plays. As I was looking through the data, it was 12, 15%, all of them throughout, where if you put all the zones together, that might be 70%. So that's something that we really like to look at in terms of the P of the play. All right. In the pass game, we're looking drop back, quick game, sprint out, are just some basic ones there. So this made it pretty simple for my young coaches and our players to kind of understand that really a team is going to do about anywhere from 5 to 10 things in a game against you. So this made it pretty nice on game day that they may not know exactly what scheme, zone scheme we think it was, but they know it was zone block, there wasn't a puller. They may have not known that it was GT or just power or counter. They know that there was a puller, so we know it's some sort of gap scheme. So it makes it pretty simple for us on the sideline to talk about. This F is our formation. So just for this example, this is a 2x2 attached. All right, so we always go field to boundary. So 2 extended receivers. You could put E. We don't. We see mostly 10 and 11 personnel teams in our league. So we tag this as just 2, and we understand if there's not a tag, those are extended receivers and normal splits. By 2, our adjuster guy is attached to the formation. This play, for example, says B, which means boundary. This was a team that they're always in dot for the most part, and they're going to shift pre-snap. So for these guys, we labeled where the back was kind of post-shift to see if we could find any tendencies. FF is formation family, so we've taken the running back out of it. And then sometimes this team was an 11 personnel team, for example. Sometimes we'll look at if they're all 11 personnel, what their final formation was. Were they attached, like a 3x1 attached? Was the Y off wing, or was that Y extended E? So we'll look at what do they do when they have an attached tight end, what do they do when they have a wing, whether it be 2 or 3x1, a 2x2 or 3x1. What do they do if that tight end's extended 2x2 or a 3x1? So a few different ways here that we can check out. And again, we kind of look and find the best tendency and go from there. M is our motion. So we've kind of used a cross between what our offense might call something and things that we've had to create at our own. We have a defensive note category here where we'll talk essentially if I have a note, if I'm looking at the pass pro or for a run guy, if figures out that the guard is in a 3-point stance on a run play and 2-point stance on pass, we'll make notes right here. Run area, right/left gap for us. So, for example, this is a run to the left, E plus gap. So we'll label where the run ended up here. So again, this is a run that ended up to the left, all right, in the E plus gap. And then we'll have run area, strong, weak. If there's a tight end, again, this is an 11 personnel team, so we'll talk about that. Or if they're an extended personnel or extended formation, was that to the field or the boundary? So we'll put simply an S or a W for they ran it to the tight end, they ran it away from the tight end, there was no tight end, they ran it to the field, they ran it to the boundary. So, and again, this is kind of a starting area for us. Everything we do here with our defensive line coach, breaking this down is kind of his starting area. This is his minimum work, and then he kind of goes on from there. He's got his own little set of things that he looks at. The next category, which these are run plays to begin with, but the next category is our pass protection. We will label that how many people are in the protection and where the running back went. The next category is, was that running back and that pass protection, was that to the field or was that to the boundary? We'll look at, did that running back go to the right? Did he go to the left? Did he go, was the protection to the tailback or away in this category? And then in 4 down, was that protection to the 3 technique or was it to the 2-eye or the shade? If it's an odd front team, we'll just put odd. If it was a 5 or 6 down front, we'll put that so we can see how a team is going to look. And then we'll put the number of rushers. Then if it's a pass play here, we put what field number 1, what route that guy ran. This is our DB coach, what he does. So I do all the pass pro stuff. Number of rushers, our defensive back coach is going to look at the routes. So field 1, what did he run? My 4th example was a vertical. The next one, was that corner pressed? We play a lot of press man, so we want to know, was the corner pressed? That example, it was no. What did field 2 ran? He ran a vert. Field 3 ran an over. Boundary 1 ran a post. The boundary corner was not pressed as well. If you were in a 2x2 or FSL formation, there's our boundary 2 and our boundary 3. We have, where the tailback lined up. Was he even? Was he deep? Was he in front of the quarterback? And then in the run game, maybe that 11 personnel tight end. Was he inside the tackle? Was he on top of the guard? Was he outside of the tackle? So those are just basic things we check out. So we'll kind of show you an example of the 7 plays here. All right, so let's get going. And I'll keep this column up so you can kind of see, but just a short checklist right here. The offensive target on this play was number 3, who was our tailback. This was 3rd and 1 to 2 from our strike zone. Number 7 was the quarterback. They were an 11 personnel team. This is a concept we call bang gap, which is an RPO play. They're going to run gap, okay? Here out of a 2x2 attached, the tailback's going to end up to the boundary. It's in a 2x2 attached formation family. The final formation, they're going to end up as an attached. Again, this is something that we don't necessarily do every week, but if you're going to be an 11 personnel team, we will do that. There was no motion. We had no notes on this play. This play is going to end up in the right E plus gap. So we have essentially said any sort of perimeter now type run. If you could say the D gap. I don't want to make my coaches, super picky. Put something, be consistent. This play was ran strong. And then my last tag here would be the tailback's alignment. He was even with this quarterback. So that's our first play. And again, everything pre-snap is going to be done prior to the week starting. And then everything that's an expert. So on this play, the only really expert we would have would have been our defensive line coach watching this play. And he would have this, his run area expertise done by the time we were ready to roll and get together on Sunday. So here's the next play. All right, this play was not efficient for the defense. The target was number 29. This was a 2nd and 1-6 play from our mid zone. Quarterback was number 13, 11 personnel. We call this play stretch. This was an RPO. Now, maybe this offense, it wasn't necessarily an RPO, but this receiver ran a route, so we need to label it RPO so my defensive back coach can go back and look to see what guys ran a route, because my corner that's playing press doesn't necessarily know this could not be a route if it wasn't. So we'll label anything that has a route as an RPO and deal with it. It is a zone run scheme, whether it be inside or outside zone. That is the scheme we're talking about. So we'll break this down and we'll look at all 2nd and 1-6, and we'll see that it's zone runs. And then I'll go back as the defensive coordinator. I'll be like, what actually zones do they like to run? What concept? Are they running outside zone with a cutoff? Are they running inside zone with a cutoff? Are they running inside zone with where they're going to wham? So I'll go back and I'll check all that out, because the last thing I wanted to do was have our assistants have a playbook of 37 different things that I call things and go through and try to figure that out. I wanted their job to be done as fast as possible and efficient. They should know if there's a puller in the run game. They should know if there wasn't a puller and it's a zone scheme. They should be able to count and know our adjustments. So I did all this to make it super easy and fast for them, and then our players are getting this easy, fast information. Then as a coordinator, I dive in deeper and I figure out exactly what they're doing, and I get that information to my coaches, and then potentially to some of the players that are striving for that information. So this play is starts off 2x2 wing. All right, so 2x2 W. The tailback's going to end up to the boundary. So our formation family is 2x2 wing. This final formation is going to be a wing formation, and we get a yak motion, which essentially is telling us that the Y is going across in our terminology. This is going to be a run to the right E plus gap, so it's a perimeter run out there. He's running to the tight end. There's the tight end. He's running to that tight end, so that's pretty self-explanatory. And again, go all the way over. Was there anything unique about this running back? Yeah, he looked even. He's a 0 for us. And was there anything about this tight end? Yeah, when the ball was snapped, he was inside that tackle. So those are things we know. Maybe he's always going to be inside the tackle, or maybe he's always going to be outside the tackle. But we want to know, and that's part of our D-line coach's job to do that. So here's our third run play. This play, 2nd and 11 here. This was not efficient for this defense they are playing. This ball went to number 4. It is 2nd and 7 plus from the black zone. Coming out, quarterback was number 13, 11 personnel. We call this H Gruff on our side of the football. This was a run play, even though technically it's going to go down as a pass completion, because to me this is a run concept. And then this is a perimeter run, I'm calling it. There is an option, obviously, if they were to mesh with this for the quarterback to run, but they're getting the ball out on the perimeter right now. So this is going to be a concept where my 5 technique to the field or my defensive backs are going to have to make the play. So I want to know that as I break this down. This was a 2x2 formation with the tailback to the field. All right, 2x2, tailback to the field. We're out of the 2x2 family. We're out of the extended. And then one thing you might look at was, if they are 11 personnel, where's that guy? Is the tight end to the field? Why? In this situation, maybe he's to the field because they're trying to run a perimeter run out there. You got a better run blocker. That makes sense. This is a Hank motion, so the H is going across. This is a run to the left E plus gap. So we'll look at that. And this was a run and this is mislabeled. This was a run to the field. All right. So it was a run to the field. And then my tailback here was even, 0. And then something that we would probably look at too is his alignment to the tackle. So we would probably make a note here saying he's generally a little wider than normal. Maybe we're getting the motion here. So now we'll check out some passes, my favorite. So here is a ball on the left hash. This is a 4th and 6. This was not efficient for the defense. They threw it to number 4 here. We'll count all 3rd and 4th downs as 3rd down, just so we're not watching 2 different cut-ups, or we make sure we don't miss this 4th and 6th play. So this goes in our 3rd and 3 to 6. Again, that's our general, but maybe this is more like 6 to 10 category for that offensive coordinator. Then we would look at that. This play is from the strike zone. Quarterback is number 7 here. We're looking at 11 personnel. This is a vertical concept. Obviously, with that being, it's a pass play. And then in pass play, the major thing we see is drop back pass, where they're just looking at the drop of the quarterback here. And this is where we strictly go off of the drop. So technically, if this was a drop back concept and the quarterback just caught the ball and threw the fade right now, we would call that quick game, because that's what our guys that have vision, our linebackers and our quarterbacks, would call that concept. This is 3-by-1, the tailbacks to the field. It's a 3-by-1 family. The final formation is extended. All right, and let's talk about the pass pro here. So this is a 60 protection for me. Excuse me, mislabeled. We are 61 here. So the man side is to the left. All right, the man side is to that left, and it is to the boundary. All right, it is going to be to the left. So we're 61, 6-man pro, tailback goes to the left, so that's why we call it 61. It is a protection to the boundary, and that is the man side. We talk about all of our breakdown, the man side. It is to the left. All right, it is away from the tailback, so it's opposite. So we'll put away. All right. And then it is to the nose guard. So the man side is to the nose. All right. Again, we're looking for shade or a 2-eye. And the defense rushed 4. So we'll flip back out to the wide. So that's something I do as the defensive coordinator. We're flipping back out to the wide. And then my DB coach is looking at the routes. All right. Field 1 runs a vertical. Field 2 runs a vertical. Field 3 is running that over route. And boundary 1 is running a post. All right. The corners aren't pressed, so we put in on those categories. Then we'll look at the tailback's alignment. He's at a 1. We say he's slightly behind the quarterback. And we talk about what route he would run or that he's blocking. In this situation, he is blocking. So that is that play. So my next play here. All right. We're 2nd and 13. The offensive target is number 82, who was their tight end. We're 2nd and 7+ from the mid zone. This play was not efficient for the defense, 11 personnel. And this is a stick concept, so we call this tick on our defense side of the ball. It was a pass play. This is going to be quick game. This is 3 wing by 1, and the tailback's going to go over here to the boundary. All right, so this is a 3 wing by 1 formation family. Its final formation is going to be a wing. There is no motion here, so we'll check out the pass pro here. So we labeled this as 60 quick here. So let's see. Yep. So we think the man side is over here to the right. So 6-man pro. The 0 simulates right, 1 simulates left. And then a tag would simulate a quick protection. All right, so the pass pro is to the boundary here and to the right. It is to the tailback, all right, so the protection is tight end. The tailback is staying on his same side. And then the protection is to that tackle. So we'll look at all these and then we try to find out a tendency. Are they always to the right or are they always to the left? Are they to the field or are they to the boundary? Are they always to the tailback? Are they always away from the tailback? Are they always to the tackle? Are they always to the nose? This was a 4-man rush. We'll go back to the routes over here. So field 1 ran a vertical. All right, field 2 ran a quick out. All right, and then field 3 ran the stick route. We try to make everything simple, so we just call it a hitch. And then our defensive back coach will kind of talk about what a wing hitch from number 3 would be, this little stick route. And then boundary 1 ran a slant over here. And then if there isn't a receiver that we're expecting the ball, like if number 2 is on the ball, we would call this quick out. So our players and our coaches know that, hey, F2 was on the ball and he ran a quick out. And then we could label, different splits. To me, this is a plus split, which indicates that you're probably going to get a slant, especially over here to the boundary. None of the corners were pressed, so we didn't click those columns. Gray area, you could say that is a press alignment. Just be consistent on what you're doing. The tailback was 0 depth. All right, and he's blocking. All right, and then my tight end was outside the tackle in his wing alignment, which is probably a big indicator that he's running a pass route if he's wider than normal. All right, let's go to the next play here. This was 2nd and 12 on the right hash. And then generally we don't want to be super picky. If the ball's dead middle, we'll call it middle. If there is a player involved on a hash, whether it be a wing or tackle, we'll consider that a hash play. And then some of this information has already came in from the other teams, so we'll just keep it that way. Obviously, but look, this was not efficient for the defense. Number 2 got the ball. This was 2nd and 7+. This is from the black zone. Quarterback number 7, 11 personnel. This is a naked scheme. This was pass. We considered this a naked play. This is 2-by-2 wing with the tailback's going to end up to the boundary. All right. Formation family, 2-by-2 wing. Final formation was a wing. We're going to get yak motion, Y across. All right. This was our 60 naked protection. All right. Which was the protection was the boundary. The tailback protection was to the right. It was to the tailback, all right, and it was to the tackle. This is a 4-man rush. Field 1 ran a hook, all right. Field 2 ran an over route. Boundary 1 ran a post, all right, and my wing gets out in the flat. Boundary 1 is pressed, so we click the Y button. All right, my last example here. We are 2nd and 15. The offensive target is number 7. It is quarterback scramble. It was not efficient for the defense. From the black zone, 11 personnel. This is a what we call a dose concept. Dig over shallow. It was a pass play. This was a drop back pass. This is 2-by-2. The tailback's going to eventually end up to the boundary. It's our 2-by-2 family. The final formation was extended. This is going to be 61 protection, meaning it's a 6-man pro, but the tailback's going to the left, which you can see, and you can see that tailback cuts. The protection is to the boundary. It is to the left. All right, it is to the tailback. All right, and you'll see here in a second it's to the nose guard. All right, there's my nose. So the protection is to the nose guard, and it is a 5-man rush. We'll go back and check out the routes. Field 1 is going to run a vertical. Okay, field 2 runs a dig. All right, boundary 1 runs a fade, and boundary 2 is running a shallow route. And then potentially, because of alignment, we should know this may potentially be coming because of the tailbacks to him. This is somewhat of a reduced minus split. The tailback is 0, and he is going to block. And then I do a nice job as the pass protection coordinator that I try to figure out if he wasn't blocking because of the blitz here, what route would he have ran? Most likely he's going to run a check flat or a check down, and then I will always have those running backs do that in our system, and unless their blitzer comes. So, for example, he blocks in this play, he wouldn't potentially block. I don't know necessarily their scheme. I don't think he's going to block if this tight end is going to stay. All right, so those are kind of the categories we start off with each week as we watch that on Monday all day with our staff. That's what we're looking at, and then our coaches kind of go from there. As the pass game protection coordinator, I'm looking at, is it tied in maybe to a formation 2x2, 3x1? Is it tied into a team? Maybe they always wanted to protect with the tailback to the field against Mount St. Joe because Mount St. Joe had an awesome field 3 technique. So I'll kind of go in and thoroughly break that down and report back. My receivers coach is saying, hey, they run verts 65% of the time, but it's against press mostly. When it's not press, they run hitches. Well, because we're mostly a press team, we figure out that we're probably going to get more verts than hitches that week. And then my run guy goes through and he'll further evaluate, is there a good puller? Do they always run gap to the right scheme? Are they always zoning left? And we try to figure out that stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, this isn't anything earth-shattering, but all this information is done Sunday, either before or after. Sometimes we'll play JV games, and we're on top of it. We're not breaking down Sunday. When Sunday rolls around, all 4 games have been broken down. We just have to break down that last game, and we're rolling from there Sunday, Monday, as we check out our areas. All right. Have a nice night.